So, folks, there apparently was a dust-up at CNN recently when they brought on Mr. Wonderful himself, Kevin O'Leary, the CEO of Asswipes Limited, as I like to refer to him, for multitude of different reasons. His appearances on Shark Tank and Dragon's Den. I mean, the most I could say about him is the fact that he is by far one of the most cretined business tycoons I've seen on a program like that, where he deliberately tells people right to their face, hey, you should make that in China. Hey, you should make that overseas. Hey, you should go to some other country, exploit those people, because you can make those plastic for pennies. He used to tell people entrepreneurs pitching on Shark Tank and Dragon's Den to talk to people in China, send the manufacturing jobs over there. And then he did a failed attempt to try to run for leader of the Conservative Party in Canada. That's a good record to run on. Telling people right to their face, hey, go send the jobs to China because they can make it cheaper. On top of his scandal with his wife, but that's another situation for another day. So Kevin O'Leary went on to CNN, and he's going to do just the most blatant, obvious take to a room full of CNN panelists, including this guy here. He looks familiar. I don't know who his name is. Maybe it's Larry Wilmore, I guess, from the crawl there. And this is the most hilarious thing, because watch the reaction from Kevin O'Leary, a multi-millionaire, billionaire persona, the greedy bastard that he is. He's just going to blurt out the most obvious thing, and watch the reaction.
I would like to introduce the concept of the panel tonight. It's going to be a short dissertation, but I want you to think about this, because I watched like you did yesterday, and something hit me pretty hard. Only 90 days ago, Pelosi went to Biden and said, you need to step aside, and convinced him to do so. He made the decision, and he did actually ask her, and we've now learned this, is she the right person to drive this home? He questioned that. He could have said, we need to run a process in order for me to make this move. But they decided not to. I don't know who they is. Was it Obama? Was it Pelosi? I don't care who it was. In stock picking, just listen to this analogy. And you may agree, you may not. 88% of managers, because this is the world I live in, cannot beat the S&P year in, year out. So you give them $1,000, the S&P beats them. They can't pick stocks. This is the second time the Democratic Party has circumvented democracy and chose.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Hillary Clinton was.
Just right off the bat. Oh, it's not true. No. Come on. You're telling me that there was no primary, that Kamala Harris was hand chosen by the deep state to run with Joe Biden, and eventually Joe Biden was going to slip up and they're going to shoo him away to get Kamala, who they always wanted, to run for the nominee? Come on. That's as crazy as Hillary Clinton deliberately destroying the primary so that Bernie Sanders cannot run against her and becoming the nominee, even though she's the most hated candidate. As crazy as that is. Or 2020, when a phone call by Barack Obama told every other contender, there used to be like 20 contenders running for the Democratic ticket, told every single contender, hey, you got to drop out and let Joe Biden run or Kamala Harris run. That Kamala Harris was just an absolute failure, so they let her go first. But everyone else has to drop out to support Joe Biden, because otherwise you're not going to get hand-chosen for a cabinet position. God forbid we wouldn't have Mayor Pete as the transportation secretary. Oh, man. This is hilarious that the most obvious, observation that majority of people obviously see, unless you're deep in the trenches of the Blue Anon group, unless you're deep involved in the Democratic cult, you're that party insider that's just your head stuck in the sand and you just can't see at all. This is the most obvious thing to people. This is stating the utmost obvious, and they're freaking out like, how dare you say that, sir? How dare you say that? So let's play this again in full and just.
Well, I would like to introduce the concept of the panel tonight. It's going to be a short dissertation, but I want you to think about this because I watched like you did yesterday, and something hit me pretty hard. Only 90 days ago, Pelosi went to Biden and
I don't know if you could see her face. You could see her just like already like biting down her teeth like, oh, you're going to be one of those troublemakers, aren't you? I thought I was going to have some healthy, wholesome billionaire just to go on here and spew the same garbage you hear anywhere else, but no. Oh, you got to be different. You got to push that envelope.
and said, you need to step aside, and convinced him to do so. He made the decision, and he did actually ask her, and we've now learned this, is she the right person to drive this home? He questioned that. He could have said, we need to run a process in order for me to make this move. But they decided not to. I don't know who they is. Was it Obama? Was it Pelosi? I don't care who it was. In stock picking, just listen to this analogy. And you may agree, you may not. 88% of managers, because this is the world I live in, cannot.
I'm sorry. I'm very amused by just the facial expression of these people. Like, look at his face. It looks like that is the resting face of the typical, good vibes, don't care about anything else, just I'm here for the show, kind of liberal, typical Democrat. It looks like a cat that you're trying to toilet train. Like, that's that face. The face of, I see you there, I see you making words, I don't know what your words mean. Coming from, what's his name? Larry Wilmore?
Beat the S&P year in, year out. So you give them $1,000, the S&P beats them. They can't pick stocks. This is the second time the Democratic Party has circumvented democracy and chose. That's not true. Yes, it is. Hillary Clinton was chosen, and she had Bruce Springsteen too. And what happened to her? And now we've chosen.
Kevin, Hillary Clinton won a primary. Okay, she won a primary. You may not.
Nobody
like
could compete with her, even Bernie Sanders.
She won a primary.
Okay.
First of all, that's the first.
She won a primary. There's a process. She won a primary. There's a process. That's their only deflect from this. From the obvious sign, from the obvious observation that Kevin O'Leary's making. I can't even give I state that I give credit where credit's due, but I don't want to give Kevin O'Leary credit, not just because of my views towards him, but the fact that he's just stating the obvious. It's the utmost obvious thing that immediately, the minute they realized that Joe Biden was not going to work out, they pushed him aside, peddled in Kamala. They got her to be the VP position because that was what the deep state wanted. That is the candidate that they always wanted. That they said on Martha's Vineyard at Obama's mansion there that she was going to be the next contender. She was going to be the next Obama heir, the black woman that's going to Hail Mary the status quo, and people were not going to judge her because of the identity and the race card. And that's always been the case. Always, always, always been that case. And what did they do? They took down Joe Biden, they cooed him out, and they brought her in. How convenient that she happened to be the vice president. How convenient that was that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were going to run on a ticket. As convenient as a 1994 crime race baiter, Joe Biden, and the prosecutor-in-chief, Kamala Harris, that locks up the most single mothers for truant kids. But remember, we got to be concerned about prison labor. So that's her silver lining.
So did Kamala Harris win a primary?
Listen, we've talked about this before.
What's wrong about talking about it tonight after what you just saw?
Do you think that's really what matters to voters?
Right now.
How many?
Do you think that really matters to voters? Do you think it really matters if they get to decide the primary or not? This is why people turn off this crap. This is why people cannot stand, and I don't blame them, that they're going to pay an extortionate amount of money to watch cable news if this is how they're going to react. Like, the most absurd, obnoxious, disregarded, disconnected people. You think people are going to care that Kamala Harris was not chosen by them? That we had a process. We had a process, people. Process. It's the exact same remarks you heard from the DNC in Chicago. There's a process, which is the most undemocratic way possible. And yet they're running on a ticket to save democracy. But there's a process. There's a process. I can't get enough hearing that. It's like listening to cult followers talking about their religious leader and not understanding how this leader came to be. Well, he's the chosen one. Well, does he have any leadership qualities? Well, he's the chosen one. God chose him. He's the chosen one. He's the leader, okay? He's the leader. Just go with it. Oh, my God. So, let's play this again in full. I won't stop it. And just hear the reaction.
I would like to introduce the concept of the panel tonight. It's going to be a short dissertation, but I want you to think about this because I watched like you did yesterday, and something hit me pretty hard. Only 90 days ago, Pelosi went to Biden and said, you need to step aside, and convinced him to do so. He made the decision, and he did actually ask her, and we've now learned this, is she the right person to drive this home? He questioned that. He could have said, we need to run a process in order for me to make this move. But they decided not to. I don't know who they is. Was it Obama? Was it Pelosi? I don't care who it was. In stock picking, just listen to this analogy. And you may agree, you may not. 88% of managers, because this is the world I live in, cannot beat the S&P year in, year out. So you give them $1,000, the S&P beats them. They can't pick stocks. This is the second time the Democratic Party has circumvented democracy and chose.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's
Hillary Clinton was chosen, and she had Bruce Springsteen too. And what happened to her? And now we've chosen.
Kevin, Hillary Clinton won a primary. Okay, she won a primary. You may not.
Nobody
like
could compete with her, even Bernie Sanders.
She won a primary.
Okay.
First of all, that's the first.
So
thing.
did Kamala Harris win a primary?
Listen, we've talked about this before.
What's wrong about talking about it tonight after what you just saw?
Do you think that's really what matters to voters?
Right now.
How many Democrats wish?
Your whole shtick has
Hang
been,
on a second.
let's talk about what matters to voters.
Oh, they're
Do you
really ganging
really
up
think
on him.
voters care about the internecine primary process?
If you're a
of the Democratic
Democrat, you
Party?
sure as hell care today.
I know that you are from Canada, but the primary process.
That's why I'm perfect.
That's their argument. That's the funniest thing. That's their whole argument is, well, you're from Canada. Do you think voters care about whether or not there's a primary? You're from Canada, okay? You're just supposed to be, Canadian. Go talk about syrup or something. Ugh. This is funny. And I can't believe it has to come from Kevin O'Leary. I can't believe it has to come from this scumbag to point out the obvious to a room full of other scumbags who are even more disgusting. Like, the lady that's next to him, the one on the right there, she's an economic supervisor for some. Let me go back to the show on the. She's CNN economics commentator, Catherine Rampel. And she blurts out, do people even care about whether or not there was a primary or not? Do people really even care about democracy? Well, Democrats sure love to run on it. They love to run on saving democracy because, God forbid, a game show host wins again. The world's going to end. The world's just going to end, and he'll become king, and then Nazis will flourish the streets, and that's why we got to save democracy as much as possible. But there was a process. We didn't have a primary because it's a process. Wow. I mean, does that not, they say a picture tells 1,000 words. I'd say this video just shows the mindset of typical. This is why a lot of these cable news outlets, a lot of these corporate ivory tower identities like CNN and MSNBC, and even to some discretion Fox News, have such a disconnect with ordinary people. Because if this is the mindset that they have codified with for so long, that they felt so comfortable just blurting out this ignorant, smug crap right to their audience, and their audience is supposed to choke this down, even though they're witnessing with their own eyes exactly what Mr. Wonderful is speaking about. How there was no primary. How Kamala Harris was hand-chosen by the intelligence agencies, by the military-industrial complex, by people in the deep state to be thrown in with Joe Biden. And then once Joe Biden exposed his true colors and his dementia, they pushed him away and put up Kamala Harris on the pedestal without any sort of decision making, without any sort of electoral process. None of it. And then you got smug commentators like this lady telling CNN viewers, do you guys really care about this democracy? It sounds like a high school, like the cool table at a high school. Do you guys really care about this Sarah got? Like, I just want to do prom and do Under the Sea, but there's so many people here. Just the arrogance of these people. And you wonder why. And you wonder why the average viewer for any of these programs is over like 80 years old. Like, I can't name a single person that I know of that could sit and watch this. To sit and watch this and actually get engaged enough to believe this story. And the fact that it's coming from Kevin O'Leary. Like, that says a lot. Anyway, I should play the full thing.
You sure as hell care today.
I know that you are from Canada, but the primary process.
That's why I'm perfect for this. I have no skin in the game other than to get a great president.
It's not in the Constitution. The political parties can choose however they want to choose their nominee.
Right.
And the fact that they rail him on the fact that he's a Canadian. Okay, so Canadians can't even point this obvious fact out. I'm a Canadian. I agree. I see what's happening. I know why Kevin O'Leary is saying this. I know why it's completely obvious to me and everybody else, but apparently to these numbskulls. Like, think of how crazy it is. Think of this, okay? Concerning the fact that a lot of the MPs currently in Canada are kind of fed up with Trudeau. So imagine if right now they ousted Trudeau, they sent him away, they gave him a severance package, they told him to take another vacation, and then right off the bat, right out of the blue, the next day, Chrystia Freeland becomes prime minister. There's no election called, there's no voting for new leader of the party, they just, boom, write her in. Do you think Canadians are going to take that well? Do you think Canadians are going to sit there and go, it's a process? There's a process involved. That's why she became the prime minister. Do you think people would not be, curious on why all of a sudden a person that just came out of nowhere who got no votes when she ran automatically becomes leader? Do you understand how crazy that is? Do you understand how undemocratic that sounds and is? And apparently these people, they don't understand, even though they're running on democracy. It's crazy.
And as long as they meet the legal deadlines in the states where they are on the ballot, they can do it however they want.
I just
want
to be transparent. Yes, I was born in Canada, but
December 2023 just handpick somebody.
Just to be transparent, I was born in Canada.
It's a Democratic Party process, not a Democratic.
No, but my kids were born and raised in Boston. All my investments in the United States. I want the president, whoever it is, to be a winner.
You're describing something as undemocratic that has absolutely nothing to do with the democratic process.
And this is why
what process though? Like it's amazing. They just keep spewing it out like it's a ritual. Like if they keep saying it multiple times, they're gonna believe there's a process. What is even that process? They don't even explain it. They don't even explain well, there's a process. Well, what is that process? Oh, there's a process. It's democratic. Holy God. The fact that Kevin O'Leary has to point out the obvious and make the room spin at CNN is just amazing. And their only deflect is, well, you're Canadian, so you can't chime in on this. You don't understand the democratic process. Well, anyone that has eyes, anyone that has ears, anyone that has a functioning brain could definitely see how this process is not democratic whatsoever. But there are some people that have fallen into the trap, fallen into this line, like cows lining up to a slaughterhouse, believing this theory, believing the crap that's being spewed at CNN, and it's because they feel comforted by it. They've been told this lie endlessly throughout the entirety of covering their politics, and they just feel like that's who they are now. It's encapsulated them to their lifestyle. That, the Democrats are doing the right thing because we can't question Democrats. We can't question the party. We can't question the political party and their motives. They're just doing the right thing. They have a plan. But they don't ever tell you what that plan is. And the fact that it has to come from Kevin O'Leary, who I could endlessly talk about what a scumbag he is. And maybe because he's a scumbag and has his millions of dollars or billions of dollars, I don't know how much he's worth these days, and just has a bunch of this money, he could do whatever the hell he wants. He can go on CNN and CNBC and just spew shit. He doesn't care. He has his business. He has his practices. He has his enterprises. He doesn't care about access. Maybe not as much as Larry, what's his face? I know him from somewhere. He's a comedian or something. I don't know. But that's amazing to me. That's amazing to me. And it's also amazing that, sadly, which I don't have the article in the Rolodex here, but it was just announced they did a polling here in Canada that majority are siding with Kamala Harris. The majority of Canadians are supporting of Kamala Harris. And I strongly believe that's because of the fact that our media in Canada is just parroting the same crap you hear on American media. Because we don't have accountability. We don't have accountability. It just parrots the exact same motives, the exact same propaganda that they do at the States. And even outside the United States, we're still being fed that propaganda. It's just unbelievable.